Tsugumi is a broke noble girl who was about to be sold off in an arranged marriage, until her little brother isekai himself after reading a cursed book, and she discovered she's one of the rare few who can see the demonic aura around such books. Suddenly, a secret bureau full of handsome boys recruits her to track down these killer books, and every single one of them starts falling for her one by one. However, before any of this, a man is chased throughout the streets by two men who corner him in an alley. He drops the book he is holding and begs them that he was only carrying the book on somebody's instructions while the men retrieve the book. He asks them in panic whether they are going to kill him now, and they reveal themselves as members of Imperial Library Intelligence Management Bureau. Elsewhere, a man named Ukai pulls the plug of his pathetic life as he chokes himself to death while a book lies near him on the floor. Presently, Hitaki confronts his sister Tsugumi and demands to know whether she is really getting married and why she didn't tell him about her marriage. She lies to him that she planned to tell him soon, and he asks her whether she is marrying some rich old dude. He thinks that their father is selling her off to some rich family since they are nobles, so he reminds her of her pride as a noble and asks her to reject her marriage. She pushes him away and tells him that it's none of his business, which shocks him a lot. The brat declares that he hates her and storms out in tears. Tsugumi's butler approaches and explains to her that Hitaki overheard the servants gossiping that she was getting married to the Yatoshi family soon, and that it was an unfortunate situation for her, due to which he forced them to tell him everything. Tsugumi stops him from apologizing to her, and when he shows concern for her, she assures him that she is alright and that she has always known she would marry her father's father as the daughter of the noble Q's family since she was a child. Tsugumi recalls the moment her father told her about Mr. Yashiro's family, how the family head is a kind man with humble origins and that she would suit his son in marriage. She assures the butler that a lot of her friends have gotten married after graduation as well, and that a lot of them were engaged as kids, due to which she will be fine as well. She asks him to get the car ready so that she can head to the town as planned, and assures him that Hitaki will be alright once she buys him a gift. Soon enough, she heads to the town on her own and thinks about how her family has been in an economical decline since she was young. Her father then started a business which was doing relatively well, but the business was severely affected by the imperial earthquake when she was young. She sincerely believes that she will be able to help out the family by marrying into Yashiro family, since her father would be able to obtain a loan that way. She then buys a book for Hitaki by his favorite author named Mijiwa Shizuru and buys his favorite desserts to cheer him up, thinking that she will share all her secrets with him. Back at home, the butler makes tea for the siblings while Tsugumi comes across Hitaki on her way to her room. He quickly runs to his house when he sees her and ignores her when she calls him out. Later, when the tea is ready, Tsugumi approaches Hitaki in his room and tries to convince him to join her for tea, but he gives no response to her. She assures him that she won't keep any secrets from him any longer, and then barges inside his room when he doesn't reply back, only to find him holed up in a corner. He comments that he wants to return to the flames and then drops a matchstick on the ground, seconds after Tsugumi smells oil in his room. The fire erupts due to the oil and engulfs Hitaki while the butler rushes inside to help him out. Afterwards, Hitaki is taken to the Imperial Capital University Hospital, where the doctor tells his family that Hitaki will survive and can receive no visitors in the meanwhile till he recovers from his burn injuries. When he is gone, Tsugumi blames herself for Hitaki's actions and begins to have a breakdown as she recounts that Hitaki told her he hated her the very same day. The butler tells Tsugumi to hold herself together for Hitaki's sake, but she keeps whining that everything is her fault. Two guys approach her from the shadows and tell her that Hitaki's actions weren't her fault. They introduce themselves as Hayato and Akira from the Imperial Library Intelligence Management Bureau and reveal that a book may have attempted to kill Hitaki, due to which they need to question Tsugumi. Later at home, Hayato and Akira ask Tsugumi whether she has heard about cursed tomes and explain to her that the cursed tome refers to a book which is filled with emotions of its writers. Such a book can give rise to intense emotions in its readers, and that such books are usually rare. However, they have been emerging recently in succession. The boys reveal that just recently the Prime Minister's son Ukai tried to take his life due to a cursed tome as well, and ask Tsugumi to keep this incident a secret. They confess that they have come to find a connection between the two incidents, and Tsugumi recalls that Hitaki was holding a book when he set himself on fire. On her instructions, the butler brings the same book, and Tsugumi notices that the book is on fire, which causes her to scream and cry out. The others assure her that the book is not on fire, and Hayato informs her that there are some people who can see the true aura of cursed tomes just like her. Tsugumi argues with him that she was unable to see the aura previously. However, Hayato believes that she can see the cursed tome's aura now after suffering from severe emotional stress caused by Hitaki's incident. The butler asks Tsugumi to compose herself while Hayato gets up and begs Tsugumi to join his team to help them find more cursed tomes. Later that night, Tsugumi keeps thinking that it's her fault that Hitaki tried to hurt himself and that despite the book's influence on him he would have never acted out if he hadn't fought with her the same day. She keeps having the same thoughts the next day and even hurts herself when she is cutting some flowers. A fancy-looking chick stops her from hurting herself and assures her that it's not her fault. She introduces herself as Shirori from the Imperial Library Department and apologizes to her for the rude behaviors of her subordinates the day before. She asks Tsugumi about her thoughts on the cursed tomes and formally requests her to assist the department in finding the cursed tomes with the help of her abilities. Due to the incident, her wedding with the Yashiro family heir gets postponed and Tsugumi decides to join the department. She cuts her hair short and becomes a 10 out of 10 baddie as she decides to have a new start in her life with a renewed spirit. Soon enough, she approaches the library department and meets with Hayato, who welcomes her to the team warmly. He shows her inside and compliments her new hair, while revealing that Shirori wanted to welcome her but is occupied somewhere else. Tsugumi apologizes to him for imposing on him and he advises her to speak more casually with him. He then shows her to a room in the basement which is the investigation team's strategy room and reveals that the bureau has two divisions, investigation team and the research team, and that their investigation team finds the cursed tomes while the research team then stores and researches the cursed tomes which have been so far discovered. He shows her to another room where all the cursed tomes are kept and she comes across a bunch of books emitting different auras which startles her a lot. She then comes across a researcher named Naberi who used to live in her house as a student houseboy and eventually left the house to find employment. Hayato comments that he was surprised to learn that they both knew one another, and Naberi reveals that he can also see the auras of cursed tomes and that he heard about Hitaki's incident as well. After their meeting, Tsugumi walks outside to discover that Shirori has returned from her errand, and Shirori instructs Hayato to do his patrolling duty while she takes Tsugumi to show her around the bureau. She leads her through an underground secret passage to the research division's room and Tsugumi finds the room stacked with dozens of books. The head of the research division named Mashiro appears in a weird-looking outfit and Shirori jokes around that he is human despite his looks. Mashiro reveals that he is well versed in a number of fields and begins yapping endlessly about his interests, so Shirori leads her to the next room which turns out to be a huge library. Mashiro reveals that the bureau was originally formed to collect books on a national level and that they still perform their job, due to which the library is the only national library in the country. He welcomes her to the bureau once again and Shirori then leads her to the third floor where the girls' rooms are located. She shows her inside and Tsugumi informs her that it's her first time living in an apartment by herself. After Shirori leaves her alone, Tsugumi notices that Hayato has already left her stuff inside her room and also notices a small conservatory outside. She then heads out to visit it and finds it really spacious and well maintained. A goldfish seller roams around the street outside and Tsugumi rushes outside after hearing him call out. He offers to sell the fish to her and even asks her to go to a cafe with him, but she runs inside in panic and shuts the door. She then comes across another bureau member named Hijui who jumps down from the tree to greet her and welcomes her to the team. He looks forward to seeing her around and then heads inside with a ladder. Later, Shirori and the team throw a welcome party in her honor, and they all eat sushi together to welcome her. Akira takes one bite and then heads inside while the others explain to Tsugumi that Akira is a shy tsundere who doesn't interact much and avoids social gatherings. Another bureau member named Chizuru joins the party and he turns out to be the same goldfish seller guy who was roaming around the streets like a creep. He comments that he was fated to meet Tsugumi and Shirori reveals that he is actually a famous author who lives in the building. Tsugumi realizes that he is the very same infamous Mijiwa Shizuru who was loved by Hitaki a lot, and he teases her by asking whether she is also his fan. He then joins the boys and eats sushi with them while teasing Tsugumi throughout the party. Later in her room, Tsugumi receives her official uniform and mentally prepares herself to join the team. The next morning, she appears in her brand new fancy-looking outfit and the boys fuss over her good looks while she feels uncomfortable in the short skirt. They assure her that all girls wear such skirts these days and Chizuru teases her that the skirt should be even shorter. The boys reveal that they will all go on patrol together and that Shirori is practically the head of the organization, due to which she doesn't join them in such petty tasks. Tsugumi realizes that she is the only girl in the team and then proceeds to join the boys on their routine patrolling. She trails behind them as they all roam around the streets and they call her out for walking far behind them. Hijui and Hayato tell her to be open if they are walking too fast for her pace, and she wonders whether she should be walking with such haughty boys when they are not her family members. Once again, she starts to lag behind them, which prompts them to stop and wait for her to catch up with them. Soon they all enter an antique shop filled with books and other artifacts which is run by a guy named Kuina. He introduces her to his pet Perry, who immediately takes a liking to her and jumps on her shoulder to cuddle with her. Kuina bluntly asks her whether she would like to be his lover, and she informs him that she is not interested in any marriage or any lover. Hijui informs Kuina that Tsugumi can actually see the auras of cursed tomes, and Kuina then shows her a new Japanese-styled book which just came in that day. Tsugumi opens the book and observes it in detail, only to reveal that the book is normal and not cursed. Throughout the day, they visit many bookstores where Tsugumi goes through various Japanese-styled books, but she doesn't find any cursed tomes. As the day comes to an end, she becomes bothered by the fact that she is a useless good-for-nothing loser who couldn't find even one cursed tome, and the team arrives at another store run by a guy named Sasagoi. He welcomes them inside in a crass manner, and when Tsugumi introduces herself to him, he comments that they can never find any good results. The team then goes through various books, but they don't find any cursed tomes, and Hayato thanks Sasagoi for cooperating with them despite his rude attitude. They then exit the shop, but before leaving, Sasagoi remarks to Tsugumi that they shouldn't take on such losers if they cannot do their job properly. Tsugumi keeps thinking about his comments and becomes lost in the crowd. Hayato then finds her and scolds her for straying far from them. She rejoins the team, and Hijui tries cheering her up as he explains that Hayato was only worried for her, due to which he scolded her. They visit the last store for the day, where once again Tsugumi confirms that the new batch of Japanese-styled books which the shopkeeper received aren't cursed tomes. The shopkeeper thanks her endlessly and also thanks all the team members one by one in delight, since he was really anxious about the status of the book. Tsugumi shares her concern with Hayato that she wasn't able to find any cursed tomes, and he consoles her that she was able to make the shopkeeper happy by giving out the verdict that his book isn't cursed and that it should be enough for her. One morning, Tsugumi is making breakfast when Chizuru arrives and reveals that he was out all night and is just getting back. The others join him in the kitchen, and Hayato shares that he and Hijui are heading out to have breakfast at a cheap restaurant nearby. Tsugumi offers to feed everyone the dish she is making, and the boys jump at the opportunity since they always eat outside. They all have miso soup made by her and enjoy its taste a lot, which is many times better than a restaurant. Chizuru comments that the soup has cleared his head a lot and asks her whether she used to be in the school chorus group. She reveals that she used to be in the chorus, and the guys compliment her singing voice one by one, making her realize that she was actually singing when she was cooking food earlier. The team heads out to patrol the streets, and later that night the boys take her to a restaurant which is run by Hayato's friend. Tsugumi orders a milkshake which she likes a lot, and they hear a ruckus in the street, so they all rush outside to see what is going on. They find a bunch of guys fighting over a book, and the boys run after the culprits while Tsugumi rushes to the victim's side. She finds a book lit on fire in the street and then decides to call the doctor to see the injured guy, but the guy stops her. He reveals that he is actually a doctor in training and introduces himself as Sajisawa from the Imperial University School of Medicine. Tsugumi also introduces herself, and Sajisawa quickly asks her whether her department deals with strange books just like the rumors say they do. He reveals that some people wanted to burn his medical book, calling it dangerous even though he had just gotten his hands on it. Later the team reports everything to Shirori, including the fact that Sajisawa didn't report anything to the police because he didn't want to make a big deal out of the matter. Shirori then introduces the team to an officer from the safety division named Teru, who will work as a liaison between the police and the bureau. Hayato believes that the police just want to keep an eye on them, and Shirori then tells Tsugumi about a group named Kagatsuchi who steal books and burn them on the spot. She explains that Kagatsuchi has been behind many recent incidents, including the incident with Sajisawa, and that the public believes that cursed tomes can kill people, due to which they want to take justice in their own hands by burning books in advance. Hayato welcomes Teru into the team and believes that he is too honest for his own good to act as a proper spy for the police. The next morning, Tsugumi heads out on her own to familiarize herself better with the daily tasks and heads to Kiyuna's shop as well. She comes across Sajisawa there and asks him about his injuries. Sajisawa reveals that the rumors about cursed tomes have been spreading like wildfire after the Prime Minister's son tried to off himself, and she argues with him that cursed tomes do not work like how the public is perceiving them. Sajisawa declares that he wants to learn more about cursed tomes and that he cannot forgive the people who write such books. He expresses his interest in her as well and asks her to tell him more about the cursed tomes and the bureau itself. Tsugumi meets up with the boys and assures them that she can walk around the town on her own. She notices a creepy-looking man tightly clutching a book which is emitting a dark aura, and immediately informs the boys that the man is holding a cursed tome. Hayato and Akira quickly confront the man, but he bolts from the scene and runs underground to the subway. The team chase after him, and the man jumps onto the train tracks where he starts to run towards the tunnel. He keeps chanting that he hates light, and just then a train rams into him, effectively ending his life on the spot. Later that day, the research team tells the investigation team that the book which was held by the latest victim was probably created intentionally as a cursed tome. Shirori and Mashiro talk about a group named Karasu who may be behind the creation of such books, and Mashiro reveals that they have found a black feather in similar previous cases which were linked with cursed tomes. Tsugumi receives the news that Hitaki has finally gained consciousness, which makes her really happy. One day, Tsugumi is on patrol duty when she comes across an old friend Karuri who reveals that she is now working as a journalist for the Imperial newspaper. She teases Tsugumi for wearing a short skirt and then runs off to find her date after leaving her card with Tsugumi. After she is gone, Sajisawa joins Tsugumi and asks her for details about Karuri and how they both know one another. He then reveals that he was waiting for her and takes her to a park where he gives her a self-made kaleidoscope as a gift. He expresses his desire to get to know her better and then reveals that his father was a doctor while his mother was a midwife, due to which he wants to become a doctor for their sake. He also reveals that his parents passed away in an accident and that he has been investigating the cursed tomes since then. Tsugumi begins to yap that the Bureau saves cursed tomes by removing their dangerous parts and copying their non-dangerous contents, and that it's not right to burn a book just because it's considered dangerous. He argues with her that they cannot differentiate between the normal and dangerous books, which prompts Tsugumi to reveal her secret that she can actually recognize cursed tomes by looking at their aura. Later that night, Teru barges inside the meeting room and informs everyone that Kagatsuchi intends to attack the Ginza Block 8. The team rushes to the mentioned site and Hayato and Tsugumi sneak inside, only to find a group of Kagatsuchi members surrounding a book. Tsugumi notices that the book is actually a cursed tome and informs Hayato, who runs inside to confront the group. The ringleader throws the book to another member and Tsugumi rushes outside to chase him while Hayato confronts the leader. Tsugumi runs into a room where she finds the cursed tome placed inside, and just then the ringleader barges inside through the window. She requests him to let the Bureau handle the book, but he argues with her that such books should be burned and their contents removed from Earth. She realizes to her shock that the leader is actually Sajisawa, and he asks her to join his group instead. She argues with him that she doesn't believe in his ideology, and he then jumps outside the window to make his escape just as Hayato barges inside to confront him. The cursed book bursts into flames just as Sajisawa leaves the building and Tsugumi fails to save it. One day, Tsugumi arrives at the Bureau dorm after getting all her tasks done and comes across a guy who demands to know what she is doing in the Bureau. She explains that she has recently joined the investigation team, but he openly mocks her before storming away in anger. Later, Shirori informs Tsugumi that the guy she met earlier was actually the Prime Minister's son named Ukai, and that he wrapped his tie around his own neck the same day that Hitaki tried to end his life. Since a lot of people visit the Prime Minister's house, a quick decision was made to transfer Ukai to the Bureau dorms to make him relax. They hear loud voices of a record coming from Ukai's room and rush to his room to tell him to tone down his theatrics. Hayato pounds on the door and tells Ukai to lower down the volume, but receives no response from inside. He then barges inside the room and stops the record player by force, prompting Ukai to argue with him. Shirori also arrives in his room and reminds him that he must follow the dorm rules, and Ukai reminds her that it wasn't his decision to move to the dorms. Ukai's servant Kijitani also arrives at the scene, and Ukai blames him for everything that happened. Kijitani then introduces himself to everyone and reveals that he will be staying at the dorm as well since his young master needs daily pampering. The team members discuss that it will be difficult to stay with the Lord of Narcissism Ukai, and Tsugumi advises them to give Ukai some more time to recover from the Cursed Tomes incident since her own brother is still in the hospital as well. The next morning, Tsugumi is cleaning the outdoors when Ukai comes outside and asks her whether she works as a cleaner. She reveals that she is in the core investigation team, and he taunts her by commenting that a woman cannot handle such work. He advises her to look more girlish, and she argues with him a lot of women work hard at their jobs, due to which he is being rude by making such comments. He becomes triggered by her argument and storms away in anger once again. Later that day, Hayato and Tsugumi patrol the streets together, and he teases her for not being patient with Ukai even though she was the one who was convincing others to do the same. They both meet with Kinyui, who informs them a politician named Isaku jumped to his death last night and that the police are keeping the case very confidential. However, a Japanese-styled book was found near his body, and that according to another bookstore owner, Isaku was coming back from Nachtigal. Both of them rush back to the Bureau to share the news with Shirori, but discover that Hayato Sr. has always given her the news. The senior turns out to be a guy named Yashikiri, who is a journalist at the Imperial newspaper, and he reveals to Tsugumi that he has heard a lot about her from his colleague Karuri. He reveals to everyone that another politician died a month ago due to a heart attack. However, a Japanese-styled book was discovered by his side as well, and that his work frequently visits Nachtigal, which is an exclusive dance hall in the Ginza region. Others believe that Nachtigal is actually the den of Karasu organization and that its auction is used to sell the cursed tomes, which makes Tsugumi wonder why they haven't arrested anyone. Hayato explains to her that a guy named Takashi is suspected of being the mastermind behind Karazi and that he is actually the head of the famous Shijinuma group who has strong ties with the politicians and the business class. They reveal that he owns Nachtigal as well and that they cannot arrest him due to lack of any conclusive evidence. Shirori then reveals that Ukai has been invited to Nachtigal and asks her to join him as his partner. Tsugumi doesn't believe that Ukai will accept this arrangement, and when Shirori approaches him to ask the very same question, he flatly refuses her and declares that Tsugumi is very unpleasant to be with. Tsugumi overhears his comment and he then storms away after refusing Shirori once more. Later that night, Tsugumi is in the bathroom when Ukai walks in on her and she begins screaming. He runs out and realizes that he had accidentally walked in the women's bathroom, after which makes him really embarrassed. Later, Tsugumi takes refuge in the conservatory when Ukai finds her there and apologizes for the encounter at the bathroom. He asks her why she is working in the bureau despite being from a noble family, and Tsugumi explains to him that she really enjoys her job and the freedom that comes with the job. He finds the whole arrangement really cheap and thinks that the boys are idiots, but she argues with him that the boys are all nice people. He then agrees to take her to Nachtigal dance and she thanks him in return. Later, Shirori instructs her to keep an eye out for cursed tomes and any conversation surrounding books or cursed tomes at the dance. Soon enough, Tsugumi dresses for the ball and the boys all compliment her one by one. Ukai then arrives in a well-tailored suit and roughly instructs Tsugumi to act dignified in his company before storming away. She follows after him and they both head to the Nachtigal dance. They arrive inside and Tsugumi has to remind herself of the atrocities that are happening behind the shadows after taking all the glamour in. They both meet Takashi, the main suspect behind Karasu, and Ukai thanks him for inviting him to the ball. Takashi's wife Shuko greets Tsugumi and welcomes her to the ball. As the couple walks away, Ukai meets with another man named Kawas next, who sneakily taunts the Prime Minister for holding pacifist views, and Ukai bluntly asks him to refrain from speaking ill about his father. After he leaves them, Ukai heads off to get some fresh air and Tsugumi wanders over to the balcony where she discovers a bookstore owner Sasagoi meeting with another man. Later she dances with Ukai and he mentions that he doesn't mind dancing with her, which makes her really happy. After the dance, Tsugumi reports to Shirori that she saw Sasagoi meeting with a man, and when she describes the appearance of the man, Shirori suspects that he was a professor named Matsuyama from Imperial University. She compliments Tsugumi's efforts and praises her for making such observations. Tsugumi visits the conservatory and finds Ukai waiting for her there. He reveals that he heard about her brother Hitaki's incident and apologizes to her for roughly behaving with her earlier. He also asks her to speak more casually with him and to teach him how to clean the next day before walking away. One day, the police discover the dead body of a murdered woman and find a lilac inside her mouth. They notice Yashikiri lurking around, so they kick him out of office, but before leaving, he notices a book relating to lilacs lying around the body. In the meanwhile, Tsugumi visits Hitaki at the hospital and assures him that he looks much better now. He asks her about her interactions with Shizuru, who is his favorite author, and throws dozens of questions at her in excitement. He then gives her the recent book from Shizuru which relates to lilacs and asks her to get a photograph from him. As Tsugumi heads back to the bureau, she realizes that she doesn't want to interact with Shizuru, but she couldn't say no to Hitaki's request. She then reads the novel a little bit and finds it too romantic, making her think that Hitaki shouldn't be reading such things. Yashikiri meets up with Hayato and informs him that 2 murders have occurred recently in which the lilac book was found at the murder site. Hayato wonders whether the book is a cursed tome, but Yashikiri assures him that it's a normal printed book and then presents the book to him. Later, Tsugumi approaches Shizuru and finds him selling goldfish on his own by flirting boldly with a female customer. He reveals to her that he occasionally sells goldfish to help out an old man and teases her for being jealous of his other female customers. She bluntly states that she isn't jealous and then requests him to provide an autograph for her brother's sake. As the two of them head back to the bureau, Shizuru reveals that he doesn't do autographs and she apologizes to him for the earlier request. He teases her endlessly as they both arrive at the bureau, and Hayato then hands him the newspaper which contains details on the recent murders. Tsugumi wonders whether the police are suspecting Shizuru now, and the others discuss that the police haven't contacted them yet and that the murderer would not place his own books at the crime scenes, which makes Shizuru the least likely suspect. They also advise Shizuru to stop going on random dates for the time being, and he jokes around that he was just on a date with Tsugumi. Later that night, Shirori approaches Shizuru in his room and asks him whether he has Seishu's script in his custody. Shizuru reveals that he has already disposed of Seishu's script and tells her not to worry about it. It turns out that Saicho was Shizuru's teacher who had written a cursed tome and that Shizuru had realized that the book contained killer's instincts, due to which he reveals that he burned it. Shizuru comments that the book was Seishu's passion and contained his soul, which makes Shirori question whether he burned it personally. Shizuru argues with her that he would never make a mistake and asks her to trust him. The next day, Hayato and Tsugumi hear from one of the book shopkeepers that Shizuru is considered the main suspect in the recent killings and that people are assuming that his motive is self-advertisement, due to which his books have been selling a lot as well. Tsugumi visits Hitaki during the afternoon and he mentions that he has heard about the rumors surrounding Shizuru, but he still believes in him. He reveals that he has read a novel which has a similar plot resembling the recent killings and that the novel was actually written by Saicho, who ended his life some years ago and was actually Shizuru's teacher. Tsugumi buys Seishu's novel which Hitaki was talking about and comes across the shopkeeper Sasagoi, who notices the book in her hands. He mentions that the recent murders resemble Seishu's plot in the novel and that he has read all of his works especially because Saicho was his teacher. He reveals that Saicho had actually opened up a school to teach writing in which both he and Shizuru were students, and that Shizuru was also the one who found Saicho when he took his life. Sasagoi wonders whether Shizuru had a role in ending his life and that once upon a time Saicho burned the first manuscript Shizuru ever wrote, due to which Shizuru definitely had a motive to murder him. Tsugumi defends Shizuru's character, but Sasagoi keeps yapping endlessly about Shizuru's love and hate relationship with his teacher until Tsugumi storms away. Later, Shizuru is burning one of his scripts when Naberi approaches him and Shizuru informs him that he is burning away a useless script. Later that night, the third murder happens, however this time a passerby comes across the murder and notices that the murderer is holding a Japanese-styled book before he storms away. The Bureau learns about this information and realize that the case now falls under their jurisdiction, since a cursed book may be involved in the case after all. Hayato and Akira come across Ukai and ask him about Shizuru, but the King of Mood Swings just mocks Shizuru and walks away in anger. The next day, Tsugumi comes across Shizuru during her patrol duty and he informs her that he was just coming back from selling some gold fish. She warns him not to wander around the area much and he asks her whether she suspects him as well, which makes her declare that she fully trusts him. The same evening, Teru bursts inside the room and informs everyone that Shizuru has been taken by the police as a key witness. In the meanwhile, Shizuru is with Tsugumi when the police approach him and ask him to accompany them to the police station. When he inquires what's happening, the police inform him that he is being taken for interrogation because of his close link with Seishu's books and due to the fact that his books are always left at the recent crime scenes. Tsugumi argues with them that they cannot blame books for such murders, and as the police take Shizuru away, she assures him that they will catch the killer soon. Later, Shirori announces to her team that they are going to be investigating the vicinity of the Ueno Park where all the recent murders have happened recently. The team heads to the Ueno Park to investigate its surroundings and Tsugumi wonders whether the killer will appear in such tight security. She and Hayato keep an eye on the park from a height and Hayato advises her to look for a cursed tome's aura in her surroundings. As the team keeps a close eye on the park, the police keep interrogating Shizuru and even reveal to him that all the 3 murdered women were somehow linked to him since he has interacted with all of them before. Tsugumi informs Hayato about the plot of Seishu's novel in which the killer murders all the loved ones of the protagonist, due to which the protagonist kills the killer in the end. At the police station, Shizuru heads to the bathroom with Teru and asks him for a favor. At the same time, Tsugumi spots a man holding a cursed tome in the park's vicinity and signals to the others. They chase after the suspect, however Hayato comes across a lilac just when he is leaving Tsugumi to chase after the suspect as well. The team corners the suspect, and he reveals that he was asked to burn the book only. A woman appears from the shadows and attacks Tsugumi with a weapon, but Hayato jumps between them in time and pushes her away. Shizuru appears at the scene and snatches the weapon away from the murderer's hands. She falls to her knees and declares that she loves Shizuru a lot even though he doesn't even know her. She asks him to kill her and show her the maximum hatred, but he gives her a grim reminder that reality and fiction are both separate things. The police then take the murderer away while Shizuru gets released. Later, he even gives an autograph to Hitaki by making an exception, and Tsugumi comments to Hitaki that her perspective on Shizuru has changed now. In the meanwhile, Shizuru thinks about how is similar to the killer as he stares at Seishu's curse book which he was supposed to get rid of long time ago. One day, Hijui and Tsugumi visit Kuina's shop where Kiyuna sells a jade stone to Hijui, who is fond of collecting such items. He also tells the pair that a person was recently selling a Japanese-styled book to bookshops, but since he was not available at the shop, the seller took the book to somewhere else. He reveals that the book was actually written by a street girl in Yokohama, which piques Hijui's interest. The both of them visit Sasagoy's shop next, where he informs them that he has already sold the book to someone else, but when they ask him about the buyer, he taunts them that he cannot reveal such confidential information to them unless they have a warrant. He begins mocking them with his yapper mouth that they should focus more on cursed tomes and should work hard and not laze around. After they leave his shop, Hijui becomes lost in thought, and they run into Professor Matsuyama, who was spotted by Tsugumi at the Nachtigal as well. He tells Hijui that he still cannot find his replacement and asks him to be careful not to burn the others around him. He also invites Tsugumi to his lab, and Hijui tells Matsuyama to leave her alone. He then walks away while Hijui warns Tsugumi to never get involved with the professor ever again. They both head back to the bureau, where Teru has thrown a mini party by bringing rice crackers for everyone. The boys chit-chat and argue with one another as usual, while Hijui stays far from everyone and remains lost in his thoughts. The next day, Tsugumi meets with Kuina at his shop during her personal time and shares her concern with him that she is worried about Hijui. He shares the tea with her that Hijui's mom was also a street girl, due to which he is so interested in the latest Japanese-styled book, and that Hijui was born in the red light district, which catered to foreign clients, which explains his different eye color and hair. Kuina believes that Hijui is interested in the book because it can give him some kind of clue about his mother. Tsugumi then heads out and a car drives up to her. The window rolls down to reveal Takashi's wife Shuko, and she reveals that she was the one who bought the Japanese-styled book written by the street girl. She then invites Tsugumi to her home and puts a blindfold to Shuko and asks her whether she wants to tame Tsugumi for her own gains. Shuko becomes offended at such a question and reminds him that she never wants to. He also reveals that his mother used to tell him a lot of fairy tales, and Tsugumi recalls that Shuko told her that the street girl's book is filled with fairy tales a lot to Shuko's house due to him, and asks Tsugumi why she put her life at risk for his sake. Shirori then learns about the truth and dismisses Tsugumi after warning her to never approach Shuko by herself. Afterwards, Tsugumi begins to think about Hijui's situation once again, and she realizes that Shuko's book must. He and Tsugumi head back home, and he thanks her for caring so much about him and putting her life in danger just to get his mom's book again, and wonders what's going on with Shuko. One day, another politician gets killed, and the bureau is identified immediately when a Japanese-styled book is found near his body. Shirori informs the team that all 4 politicians who have died in the similar manner were in favor of the Prime Minister's disarmament policy, and the others discuss that Takashi is among those powerful people who oppose the very same policy as well. Shirori and Mashiro remind everyone that they cannot arrest Takashi due to lack of evidence against him, and that Takashi's ultimate target must be the Prime Minister himself. Later one day, Tsugumi heads out after preparing for an eternity and comes across Ukai at the door. He starts to blush like a cherry boy, seeing her all dolled up, and asks her whether she is doing out, so she declares that she is going on a very important business. Some time ago, Tsugumi met with her friend Karuri at a cafe, and she recommended a movie to her. Tsugumi was Tsugumi visits the theater and runs into Akira in the queue, who has coincidentally come to watch the same movie on his day off. The ticket seller informs them that the individual seats are all booked and asks them whether they want to be admitted as a couple, so Akira asks them to admit them as a couple, which makes Tsugumi feel really embarrassed. They both then watch the movie together and enjoy it a lot. Tsugumi laughs during the movie and cries at the sad scene. They both head back to the bureau dorms together, and Akira shares with her that he becomes really invested in emotional movies, due to which he ends up crying. He tells her to remove his reactions from her memory, and it suddenly starts to rain, so Tsugumi brings out an umbrella that the both of them can share. Akira walks ahead of her and instructs her to him to share the umbrella with him. He teases her that they will be sharing an umbrella like lovers, but seeing her stubbornness, he takes the umbrella from her and they both walk home under one umbrella. The next day, Shirori informs Ukai that she is going to meet the Prime Minister and asks him whether he would like to pass along any message for him. He reveals that he has no message for his dad, and Shiro then heads to the Prime Minister's residence with Tsugumi. They both with him at his mansion, and Shirori gives him a brief report about their suspicions and Takashi's link to cursed tomes. Ukai reveals that he has already warned the other politicians about the cursed tomes, and then asks her about how Ukai is behaving at the dorms. Tsugumi informs him that he is fitting in well after his initial rebellious phase, and that he has even helped her cook dinner, which makes him really happy for his son. In the meanwhile, Takashi meets with a military commander, and they discuss how Ukai is against ammunition while the whole world is focusing on military powers now. Tsugumi takes the local tram and enters inside, only to find Takashi sitting with no one else in sight. She takes a seat in front of him and the tram heads on its way without taking further passengers. He casually asks her to join him, and she notices a black feather on his coat, which is the same feather which was found in all of Karasu's incidents. She asks him why he is asking her specifically, and then trips on her foot, making her fall back. He approaches her, explaining that he can see the future and that she plays a great part in the future due to which he wants her on his side. He even reveals that he knows that the Bureau has infiltrated the Karasu group and that he has infiltrated her group as well. He then asks her to think hard about her decision since he doesn't want to force her and then leaves her alone. Tsugumi arrives at the dorms and seeks out Shirori but doesn't find her inside. Akira spots her and inquires whether anything is wrong, but she lies to him that everything is alright. He then asks her whether she would like to go see more movies with him and she agrees to his request before heading to her room. Later Shizuru and the boys cook curry on their own and the whole team enjoys dinner together. Akira notices that Tsugumi seems upset and after dinner, they both wash dishes together. They discuss the dish that Shizuru made and once again Tsugumi recalls Takashi's words that there is a spy among them, which makes her drop the glass in her hands. She bends down to pick it up and nicks her finger, so Shizuru quickly takes her finger to lick it clean. Ukai scolds him for acting like Diddy and Akira becomes faint on seeing blood on her fingers. Hijui then wraps a bandage around her finger while Akira rests on the couch like a loser trying to calm himself down. Tsugumi heads to her room and to her shock finds a Karasu feather on her desk, which scares her a lot. The next day, she finds the same feather at one of the bookshops during her patrol duty, which makes her wonder whether she is being watched. She then comes across Karuri during her duty and they both chit-chat for a while before Karuri heads on her way. Just as they both part ways, a car runs into Karuri and she barely survives. Tsugumi runs to her side and as a crowd gathers around them, Tsugumi notices a black feather lying nearby, which makes her recall Takashi's warning against her loved ones. She quickly rushes to a phone booth and calls home to confirm that Hitaki is doing alright. Afterwards she heads home and comes across Akira inside, who asks her whether she is alright. She assures him that she is fine and then runs to her room where she finds another crow feather inside. She runs outside to burn all the feathers and runs into Akira once again, who spots the feathers. She runs back to her room and stalks after her, asking whether she has met Takashi. She tells him everything openly and starts crying as she discusses that there might be a spy within the team. Akira then pushes her on the bed and rips open his shirt to reveal a tattoo in the shape of a black feather, which confirms that he is actually the spy. He then storms out of the room after declaring that he will protect her. Akira arrives at Takashi's mansion to confront him by himself. He asks Takashi why he put the crow feathers in Tsugumi's stuff without informing him, and Takashi strikes his cheek in return, which causes him to start bleeding. Akira looks away from the sight of the blood, but Takashi grabs his face and instructs him to look closely at the blood. He reminds him that he should remember the last incident and then rubs the blood all over his face as Akira starts to spiral and break. Meanwhile, Tsugumi confides in her team about the identity of the Karasu spy and Shirori holds a meeting in which they all discuss Akira. Hijui defends Akira and explains that he must have some kind of reason, but Ukai reminds him that Akira still spied on them regardless of his reasons. Shirori then advises Tsugumi to not wander out on her own and they all make plans to quickly catch Karasu. The next day, Tsugumi visits Hitaki in the hospital with Hayato, and her brother immediately begins sussing Hayato out. He notices his open exposed chest and warns Tsugumi to not get seduced by him. Hayato explains to him that he is guarding his sister due to a top-secret mission, but Hitaki continues to act rude towards him. After they leave, Tsugumi apologizes to Hayato for her brother's behavior and he points out that Hitaki looks better after the incident with cursed tomes. Later Hayato meets with his senior Yashikiri and whines to him that he will get over the case and live a happy life after everything is over. Yashikiri gives him some solid life advice and Hayato in return tells him to stop snooping around as well. Yashikiri then informs him that recently there have been rumors that someone at the Imperial University is trying to create artificial cursed tomes and assures him that he will report to him once he confirms the rumors. Later that night, Tsugumi reads up on books to learn more about cursed tomes and comes across Mashiro. He shares a theory with her that cursed tomes have been around for ages and believes that he would be able to do more research if he had the ability to see the aura of cursed tomes just like her. Tsugumi then finds Naberi sleeping at the Cursed Tomes library and notices that seems to be having a nightmare. Naberi then wakes up with a start and reveals that he was dreaming about the past. She notices the cursed tome which caused Hitaki's incident and Naberi explains to her that they looked into the author but found no more printed books by him. She wonders whether the auras of the books can be similar sometimes, and he explains that the aura of the cursed tome depends on the emotions of the author who wrote them. She then notices a manuscript on the table with an evil aura and Naberi reveals that sometimes even a small letter or a manuscript can be cursed based on the author's emotions. The next day, a random man comes across a murdered body in a deserted alley downtown. Moments later, Karuri rushes to her office where Yashikiri spent the night and informs him that a man's body was found in the downtown area. He quickly gets up and rushes to the site to gather info. At the bureau, Teru informs everyone that the murdered man was actually an undercover police officer who was investigating Nachtigal and that the police was unable to get into touch with him since a week ago. The man's body was pecked by actual crows to the point of non-recognition, due to which it is difficult to even determine his cause of death at this point. The team members warn Ukai that he should be careful as well, and Shirori advises him to just stay inside the dorms where they can fully protect him. Later, Tsugumi meets up with Karuri and Shizuru accompanies her to the meeting. Karuri confides in both of them that she likes someone, but her crush is always engrossed in work and never notices her. Shizuru and Tsugumi quickly realize that she must like Yashikiri, and Shizuru advises her to be honest about her feelings and to confess to Yashikiri. He also advises her to write him a love letter and offers to help her write as well. Karuri then asks Tsugumi whether she likes someone, and Shizuru jumps in and says that she likes him. Tsugumi rejects the announcement instantly and explains that she doesn't have time for love right now. Later that evening, Yashikiri sneaks into the Imperial University wearing a disguise and waits for Professor Matsuyama to head out. When he leaves his office, Yashikiri sneaks inside and looks around for some kind of proof. He finds a Japanese-styled book on his table and quickly takes it to the bureau, where he asks Tsugumi and Naberi to check whether the book is a cursed tome. They both review the book and reveal that the book is just an ordinary book and not cursed at all. Yashikiri refuses to reveal where he got the book from, and Tsugumi advises him to stop doing reckless things. Yashikiri declares that he doesn't want to regret anything in the future, and Hayato then sees him out. On the way out, Yashikiri teases Hayato that he sucks with women and shares a story with Tsugumi about Hayato's first love, in which a girl used to sit at the park each day reading a book. Hayato saw the girl one day and fell in love with her at first sight, after which he started going through the park every single day just to have one look at her. Yashikiri would then try to force him to approach the girl, but Hayato never approached her because he had seen the girl reject a lot of his classmates. Yashikiri asks Hayato to share the ending of his fairy tale to Tsugumi himself and then heads back to his office. Hayato comments to Tsugumi that Yashikiri is also a late bloomer with women and that he even found a letter inside his bag which he hasn't opened yet. Tsugumi wonders whether the letter is from Karuri, but she recalls that Karuri had told her that she will write the love letter after the case is over. Hayato reveals that he never confessed to his first love and that he had a little sister who burned herself just like Hitaki after reading a cursed tome. She was then hospitalized, but due to the severity of the burn scars, she took her own life. He shares that Shiori's husband also died due to a cursed tome, after which she joined the bureau, and that he also joined the bureau for his sister's sake. Karuri then arrives at the bureau looking for Yashikiri, and Tsugumi asks her whether she wrote the letter to her cringe crush after all. Karuri reveals that she never wrote any letter promoting Tsugumi, to realize that someone may have been targeting Yashikiri. She rushes to the market and misses Yashikiri just as he takes a pram to head back to the office. He then reads the cursed letter and lights himself on fire. Hayato and the girls rush to the scene, and Hayato runs inside the tram to save Yashikiri. Later, Yashikiri is treated at the hospital and the doctor shares good news with everyone that his life isn't in danger anymore and that he can receive visitors once he awakens. Karuri keeps crying and whining like a wuss throughout the ordeal and then thanks Hayato and Tsugumi for helping Yashikiri out. She decides to stay at the hospital for the time being, and Hayato assures her that Yashikiri will be really happy to see her after he wakes up. Later, Mashiro and Shirori hold a meeting with all bureau members in which they discuss that Yashikiri was targeted by Karasu while he was investigating the production of the artificial cursed tomes. They believe that Yashikiri must be close to finding out the truth, and Tsugumi informs everyone that the aura of the cursed letter was very different from the rest of the auras she has seen before. She reveals that the aura reminded her of Hitaki's cursed tome and that it looked like flames. Later, Karuri visits the bureau and reveals that Yashikiri woke up earlier and wanted to pass on all the information to the bureau that he had collected. She gives Yashikiri's diary to Shirori as a result, and Shirori then reads through the diary. She narrates to everyone that there is a lab in Nachtigal's basement which may be creating artificial cursed tomes, and that some kind of specific medicine is used on the authors who can then write the cursed tomes. According to Yashikiri, the creator of the medicine is Professor Matsuyama, who had been researching mental sciences for a long time, and that Sasagoi is also linked to the entire case somehow. Shirori warns Ukai and Shizuru to keep all the information confidential since they are not officially a part of the investigation team. After she is gone, Shizuru begins whining that he cannot believe in Sasagoi's involvement since they were both Seishu students and that Sasagoi has written a bunch of books before as well. They all discuss that maybe Sasagoi just wanted to write something, due to which he has resorted to writing cursed tomes now since there is not much cash coming from his bookshop. The next day, Prime Minister gives a speech to the officials on his disarmament policy in which he reminds them that they need to think about their young blood youth who will be believed in war and fighting if the country focuses too much on arming itself. He believes that the officials always watch the conflicts unfold from behind the curtains while the youth spills the blood. Just then, a guard approaches him on the dais and takes out a gun. He shoots at him just when the PM's other guards lunge at him. Moments later, Ukai rushes to the scene to meet his dad while the investigation team learns that a police officer had managed to unearth the plot beforehand and had stopped the shooter by jumping on him at the last second. The shooter refused to spill any tea and took his own life while the investigation revealed that the shooter was actually a soldier. Shirori informs everyone that the general of the soldiers' platoon has been taken into custody for now for interrogation, but the mastermind must be Takashi and his Karasu group. The next day, the investigation team busies itself in making patrols around the city as usual, and they discover that Sasagoi has disappeared after shutting down his shop. Teru joins them at the end of their duty and they all head to a restaurant to eat dinner together, but just as they arrive, Tsugumi notices a passerby running away with a cursed book. She informs the boys, who tell her to remain at the restaurant and then run away to catch the man. As she waits for them to come back at the restaurant, Sajisawa approaches her and, seeing her doubtful eyes, assures her that he is on her side. He reveals that he has heard that Takashi is interested in her and warns her that the only person more dangerous than Takashi is Professor Matsuyama, who is also interested in her abilities. He believes that Matsuyama is a very evil person who only thinks of people as guinea pigs. Tsugumi inquires whether he is still a part of Kagatsuchi group, and he reveals that the Kagatsuchi will make a move soon by attacking the workshop at Nachtigal and destroying all the artificial cursed tomes. He asks her to join him once again and she flatly refuses him, which was something that he had already predicted. Teru then arrives at the restaurant and Tsugumi introduces Sajisawa as her friend before he walks away. Teru reveals that Hayato and Hijui have apprehended the man with the cursed tome and are arresting him, due to which he has come to escort her back to the dorms. They both head back to the dorm together, and on the way, a bunch of masked men appear and surround them. Teru attacks them and dismantles them one by one while Tsugumi attempts to flee from the scene. A man jumps on Teru from behind and grabs a hold of him. The others then attack him together, and as he loses consciousness, he tells Tsugumi to run away, however she just keeps calling him out like a dumb blonde. Hours later, he wakes up in the same street and finds a Karasu feather a few feet away from him, after which runs to the dorms to inform everyone what happened. He takes responsibility for what happened, but the others assure him that it's not entirely his fault and that they should have been vigilant as well. Hayato declares that he is going to Nachtigal to get Tsugumi back, and Shirori reminds him that they need to take permission from the higher-ups before making any moves. She still allows the boys to act and decides that she will take responsibility if a problem with the higher-ups occurs. Hayato then takes out his bike and Hijui joins him as they both head to Nachtigal together. In the meanwhile, Shizuru is heading back to the dorms when Ukai stops his car near him and offers him a ride. At the same time, the Kagatsuchi members begin their movement as they all march towards Nachtigal to burn the place down. Tsugumi wakes up and finds herself in a room which is stacked with cursed books. Takashi steps forward and starts yapping about his collection, which makes Tsugumi realize that he can see the auras of the cursed tomes as well. He reveals that he sacrificed his right eye once upon a time to gain the ability to see the auras, and that he wants to build a bigger collection. The Kagatsuchi members arrive at Nachtigal and throw fire-filled objects inside the premises, which start to light the premises on fire. The guards rush to deal with the fire, and Akira, who is being held hostage, hears everything from his confinement room. He slams his chair against the door and breaks out of the room after hearing all the ruckus. The Kagatsuchi members barge inside the Nachtigal premises while Hayato and Hijui also storm inside the premises on their bike. Takashi reveals to Tsugumi that he has already planned something after the failed execution of Prime Minister's assassination, and that he is going to take her to Europe with him. He also reveals that he wants to have a child with her who can succeed the both of them and have their powers. He takes off his gloves and declares that he loves Shuko but still needs to carry on his family's legacy. He believes that her nobility and powers are worth the spectacle and then leans on her, so she pushes him back, declaring that she will never give in to him. He calls her strong-willed and proceeds to force himself on her, but just then, the door bursts open and Akira rushes inside the room. He tells Takashi to stay away from Tsugumi and tells her to run away as well while he will deal with Takashi. A bunch of masked men appear and Tsugumi runs away from the room while Takashi orders his men to deal with Akira and then bring Tsugumi back to him. At the same time, Sasagoi puts all the artificial cursed tomes in a box and Matsuyama tells him to leave all the books since they can always make more books, but Sasagoi ignores him and keeps up his hoarding tactics. In the meanwhile, Hijui and Hayato search for Tsugumi inside the Nachtigal rooms when some guards spot him and mistakenly assume that they are a part of Kagatsuchi. Hayato takes on the guards by himself while Hijui runs off to find Tsugumi. At the same time, Tsugumi gets cornered on a staircase as she hears men approaching and finding her from all directions. She takes out her knife which she had hidden in her clothes and prepares to fight with them, but suddenly Shuko pulls her into a room to save her. Akira fights with Takashi's guards and a cursed tome accidentally falls on the floor which one of the guards accidentally ends up looking at. The guard loses his mind and takes out his sword to take his life while Akira runs away from the scene. Tsugumi asks Shuko whether she is being threatened to stay at Nachtigal, and Shuko pours her some tea as she explains that she is Takashi's wife and therefore cannot leave her. She wants him to stop committing such sins and reveals to Tsugumi that she even has a son about her age whom she wants to protect. Sasagoi tries to sneak out of the basement with dozens of artificial cursed tomes when the Kagatsuchi arrive at the basement to burn everything down. Meanwhile, Shizuru and Ukai arrive outside the Nachtigal and decide to head inside to find Tsugumi as well. Takashi instructs his guard to take Shuko to the harbor and decides to head there himself to make his escape. As he is leaving, Hayato finds him and demands him to reveal where Tsugumi is, but to his shock, Takashi informs him that he wants to have a child with Tsugumi. Hayato lunges at him but Takashi's guard stops him while Takashi walks away. Hayato throws his punches at the guard but the Fatso guard punches him back and almost ends his life. Akira then knocks him out from behind and pulls Hayato to his feet. Before they can talk about their gay feelings, Takashi's guards surround him and they both begin fighting against all of them together. Sasagoi flees from the building with a trunk of cursed books but ends up running into Shizuru and Ukai who were just heading inside. Shizuru demands to know what he is doing and Sasagoi begins his whining session as he reveals that he has always hated Shizuru since they were both Seishu students and Shizuru doesn't deserve to be a good writer. He believes that novels are born from darkness and Shizuru argues with him that he has darkness in his heart as well. Sasagoi whines that nobody ever read his novels and that the Karasu are offering him fortunes for the cursed books he can write now. Ukai informs him that he has read all of his novels and has been his fan since a long time ago. He would often go to his bookstore to ask for the newly released book and that he also read the cursed tome which was published by him due to which he attempted to take his life. Despite going through such an incident, he reveals that he liked the dark content of the cursed tome and urges Sasagoi to write another book which portrays his darkness and isn't cursed like his book. Sasagoi begins to cry on hearing such words since he cannot believe that anyone would like his worthless good-for-nothing books. Shuko guides Tsugumi on how to make her escape and explains to her that she has something important to do due to which she cannot leave with her. The Kagatsuchi members fail to find Professor Matsuyama in the basement and Sajisawa then heads upstairs to look for him. Meanwhile, Matsuyama is trying to flee when he runs into his ex-student Hijui who asks him to turn himself in. Matsuyama declares his grand plan to flee overseas with Takashi and to make more cursed books there. He reveals that he can find third-class writers like Sasagoi anywhere in the world and Hijui steps forward to stop him. He summons blue fire around Matsuyama and Matsuyama comments that his mother tried his best to stop him from using him. He then reveals to Hijui that his mother offered herself so that he would stop experimenting on him and that he took a lot of blood from her and performed multiple experiments on her, but due to her weak body, she ended up passing away. Hijui loses his senses as he hears about the brutal treatment which his mother faced and conjures fire which envelopes the hall around them. The fire burns brighter and brighter as his anger increases and he is about to obliterate Matsuyama as well but suddenly recalls his mother's warm embrace and the fact that she loved him. He stops his attacks and informs Matsuyama that his mother wouldn't want him to become a murderer due to which he is going to spare his life and hand him over to police. He then approaches him but Matsuyama shoots at him with a hidden gun and then runs away after calling him a naive fool. Tsugumi attempts to escape through an elevator, but Takashi intercepts her midway and barges inside the elevator to deal with her. Meanwhile, Hayato and Akira finish knocking out all of Takashi's guys and hurry to find Tsugumi. Takashi drags Tsugumi to the basement where there is a secret passage which can lead him to the subway and Hayato and Akira rush to stop him. Takashi threatens to kill Tsugumi if they stop him and reminds Akira that he took away his eye as well. Akira reveals that Takashi is actually his half-brother and Takashi gives him a grim reminder about his birth mother who died in a despicable state. Akira lunges at Takashi while Tsugumi manages to run away from him by biting down on his hand. Akira and Takashi fight and struggle with one another and when Hayato tries to help out, Akira asks him to let him handle Takashi since it's his fight. They both continue to struggle against one another while a train approaches them through the underground subway. Akira knocks Takashi down, just as the train passed by them. Upstairs, Sajisawa confronts Matsuyama and Matsuyama calls him a low-life student, who cannot destroy his research. Sajisawa accuses him of experimenting on a number of students of Imperial University but Matsuyama argues with him the students didn't have fine qualities due to which they died. The police arrest Takashi and take him away but before leaving, he tells his guards to take Shuko to the main house and wait for him there. The police also take Sasagoi away, leaving behind Matsuyama, who still has not been found. The others discuss that they need to find Matsuyama soon, and Tsugumi then runs away to find Hijui. Matsuyama reveals to Sajisawa that his parents adopted him, but Sajisawa already knew about this tea. He then comments that he will change his mind if he learns about his real parents, and Sajisawa promises that he will never change his stance. Matsuyama reveals that he is actually his father and that he forced himself on Shuko when she was single a long time ago, due to which she ended up having his child 9 months later. However, her father took away the child since it was born out of wedlock, but a friend assured her that she will adopt the child and give him an affectionate upbringing. Afterwards, Shuko was married off to Takashi, however she always kept missing her child. Tsugumi and the boys come across an injured Hijui in the hallway, and Akira stays behind to help him out while the others run deeper into the mansion to look for Matsuyama. Meanwhile, Matsuyama tries to convince Sajisawa to join him, but Sajisawa becomes fed up with him and decides to kill him. Matsuyama begins to yap that Sajisawa's father never understood the importance of his research and even wanted him to be persecuted, due to which he slipped in some medicine in the foods of Sajisawa's parents, which ultimately killed them. Matsuyama then smacks away the gun in Sajisawa's hands and pulls out his hidden gun as he slowly steps back. A secret door opens up in the wall behind him, which reveals a flying balloon waiting for him, and Matsuyama slowly retreats to make his escape. When Sajisawa attempts to lunge at him, someone shoots at him from the shadows and Shuko steps forward with a gun. Matsuyama believes that she has come to escape with his ugly face, but Shuko explains that she wanted to be the one to kill him, due to which he shot at Sajisawa. Matsuyama switches tactics and throws away his gun as he begins pleading with Shuko to save him. He calls her a kind-hearted girl who loves him a lot, and she reminds him of the time when he forced himself on her. He gaslights her that she loved him back then and sneakily takes out an injection to attack her. As he steps towards his hot air balloon, Sajisawa lunges at him just as Matsuyama lunges at Shuko. During their brief struggle, the injection lands on Matsuyama's butt and the hot air balloon becomes lit with fire. As the balloon rises in the air, Matsuyama's foot becomes entangled with the balloon, which causes him to get dragged away with the balloon. After he is gone, Shuko thanks Sajisawa for his help and he informs her about his mother who raised him. She in return takes out a kaleidoscope and asks him whether he likes kaleidoscopes. They both discuss their love for kaleidoscopes, and she calls him by his first name, which makes him realize that she already knows that he is her son. She then tells him to take care and he leaves her alone as he heads downstairs. He then meets with Tsugumi and mentions that he won't burn books anymore before departing from the scene. Tsugumi and the boys exit the building and Tsugumi runs into Shiori's arms. Hayato announces that their mission is complete and Akira watches all of them from the shadows. He turns around to leave, but Shiori calls and stops him. She asks him where he is going and he answers that he has done something unforgivable to all of them. She instructs him to atone for his sins by joining them again, and Ukai also tells him to do his cleaning duty the next day. Hayato then punches Akira in the face, knocking him to the ground, and declares that he won't forgive him if he disappears from the face of the earth again. Akira punches him in return, and they both laugh it off. Meanwhile, Matsuyama lands on a tree and a book falls on his head. He takes one look at it and the cursed book envelopes him completely, making him lose his mind. He declares that he must return to the flames and walks straight inside the burning building while someone watches him from the shadows. The bureau throws a party which is attended by the investigation and the search team both. Ukai makes tasteless jokes during the party while Hijui discusses his injuries with Teru. All the team members eat and enjoy sushi together while Naberi watches all of them with a keen eye. Later, Shiori and Mashiro summon Hayato and inform him that they have discovered the person who was behind Hayato's sister's and Shiori's husband's death. They explain to him that the books which were involved in both the incidents had an aura which resembled flames, and that the same aura was also seen by Tsugumi at Hitaki's incident and Yashikiri's letter. This means that the author of all the 4 incidents must be the same person, and Mashiro then drops the bomb that he cross-examined all 4 books through a mirror only to discover that the handwriting matches Naberi's handwriting. In the meanwhile, Tsugumi and Naberi head to her home to meet with Hitaki, who has been discharged. Shiori reveals that Naberi's mom died in a fire when he was a child after his dad passed away in action, which indicates that Naberi must have some kind of trauma related to the fire. They do not have direct evidence against Naberi to arrest him, but decide to approach him to find more about him. Naberi and Tsugumi arrive at their home where all the maids and butlers welcome them. Hitaki runs into Tsugumi's arms in tears and welcomes her back. After the butler leaves to make tea, Naberi remarks that the place is very nostalgic to him and asks him about the book which caused Hitaki's incident. The book was picked up by Hitaki in the library randomly, and Naberi lies to the both of them that he used to see a little bit of aura around a number of books when he would visit the library in the past. He explains to Tsugumi that his aura-seeing abilities were weak back then, due to which they should check out the library again, and they all rush to the library on his advice. Tsugumi turns around to check the books out, but just then, Naberi shuts the door and reveals his true sinister face. He confesses that he lied about the library in order to lure the siblings inside and makes them recount the time when he met them for the first time. Naberi arrived at their house as a schoolboy and was met with warmth and love by Tsugumi and Hitaki. They treated him as their older sibling and made him remember the good times in his life despite his dark past. He then informs the both of them that he was living a good life with his parents, but his father was then scripted away to war where he was killed, and that his mother ended her own life to join his father. His mother lit herself on fire, due to which he always thinks of flames as his true home. In the meanwhile, the family butler arrives back with the tea and doesn't find anyone inside. A maid informs him that they have all gone to the library, so he heads to the library to call them but finds the door locked. Naberi reveals that he felt suffocated and consumed by fire due to his mom's death, and that he started writing in order to relieve himself. The writing often helped him calm down, but soon he would be consumed by the same rage again and he would start writing again. Tsugumi realizes that he has been writing cursed books all this time, and Naberi then takes out a cursed book suddenly, which he asks her to look at. She takes one look at the book and becomes enchanted by it. Suddenly flames surround her and she sees the time when Naberi wrote the first book in his life and saw the aura surrounding the book, which made him think that fire isn't so bad after all. Soon he joined the bureau as a research team member and came across their Cursed Tomes library, which made him realize that he has the ability to see the auras of cursed books. He also learned about cursed books at the bureau and realized that he had written a cursed book as well, but despite the guilt, he wondered what reaction a person would have after reading his book. Soon enough, Shiori's husband came across his book and ended his life after reading his book, while Naberi watched everything from the shadows. He wanted to stop writing, but the rage and endless hatred consumed his heart, and he wrote another book with a different author name to relieve himself. One by one, people fell victim to his written books while he kept up his writing to let his feelings go. Tsugumi relives everything from Naberi's point of view and soon becomes enchanted by him as she starts to repeat all of his words and his feelings. Naberi ties up Hitaki and assures him that his turn will soon come, while Tsugumi stands stoned in a trance. The butler pounds on the door and demands Naberi to open it, but no one listens to his whining. Just then, Hayato arrives at the mansion and storms inside the library just when Naberi is about to light the room on fire in order to meet his mom, who will give him eternal happiness. Hayato takes out his blade and swipes the candles in his hand, after which he strikes and knocks Naberi down. He then takes Tsugumi into his arms and calls her out again and again, but she gives no response to him. In the meanwhile, Tsugumi finds herself trapped inside her mind with fire surrounding her cage and nowhere to go, but suddenly she starts to hear Hayato call her out. She slowly comes back to her senses and Hayato hugs her on her return. Shiori arrives and punches Naberi as well, who only tells her to kill him to take her revenge. He comments that she and Hayato must want to kill him, but Shiori tells him to atone for his sins by living his life. Tsugumi consoles him as well that he must have been feeling really sad all this time, but she believes that he should try to find where he belongs in the real world rather than trying to go back to the flames. Her words strike Naberi's heart and he begins to cry. When everything is over, Shiori summons Tsugumi and asks her what she would like to do in the future. Tsugumi assures her that she still wants to stay at the bureau and keep working, although Hitaki has been released. All the boys who were overhearing the conversation spill out from behind the doors and Tsugumi reveals that she wants to settle something first. Soon enough, she dresses up in a fancy-looking yukata and arrives at the Yashiro residence to meet her fiancé for the first time. A servant shows her inside and she finds Hayato sitting behind a piano looking like a crisp prim hero. Hayato reveals that he belongs to the Yashiro family and has been his fiancé all this time. Tsugumi reminds him that his last name is Ozaki and not Yashiro, but Hayato explains to her that he was working under a pseudonym to get away from the influence of his father, who is really wealthy and powerful. He takes her to the balcony where he reveals that he knew about her all this time and that she was also the first girl he fell in love with. She cannot believe this coincidence and he reminds her that he used to read books at a park when he fell in love with her but never got the courage to approach her. He then tells her that she can keep working in the bureau and promises to make her fall in love with him as well. Eventually, everyone returns to their normal lives. Yashikiri continues to get better at the Imperial Hospital while Karuri keeps an eye on him and even feeds him apples, which makes the both of them blush. Sasagoi starts writing novels in prison, believing he is satisfied even if one person reads his books. Ukai learns cooking in his free time and his butler motivates him to win Tsugumi over with his cooking. Akira visits the cinema and buys 2 tickets for Tsugumi so that she can watch a movie with him in the future. Meanwhile, Shizuru finally burns Seishu's manuscript, which was a cursed tome, and settles the matter once and for all. One day, Tsugumi and Sajisawa run into each other in the library and he informs her that he is working hard to study medicine to become like his father. Takashi and Shuko head overseas and come across an interesting man who joins them on the ship. One day, Tsugumi's butler makes pancakes for the whole team and all the boys including Hitaki enjoy the meal together. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. If you guys enjoyed watching the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for quality anime recaps.